Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Formula 1 news. Plenty to discuss today with regard to the Australian Grand Prix. Mercedes not bringing the rear wing update we expected them to have, but Red Bull are, and Leclerc reckoning that Ferrari with this new track update certainly are not best positions this weekend. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, all that good stuff. Let's just crack right on with things. This Valtteri Bottas, new helmet this weekend, thought it was pretty cool to be honest. Speaking also of Alpine, we mentioned yesterday the fact that this weekend the car is no longer that atrocious pink colour and they've got the livery they I guess wanted to have back. So this is the livery. They had a deal with BWT to have it all pink for the first two races. Thankfully that has gone away. Speaking real quick of Alpine, of course Alonso, he had his race ended prematurely in Saudi Arabia due to effectively all the cars blew up within one lap of each other. Bottas was gone, Alonso was gone, Riccardo was gone as well I think. So it was kind of crazy. But they reckon a water pump fix will prevent a repeat of the failure that forced Alonso to retire. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. We want to see more of the on-track battles between the Alpines that we saw at the first part of that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. This, of course, we looked at yesterday, the new layout for the track. Turn 9 and 10 are gone, or at least, they're not gone, they're moved down the track. But this chicane is now disappearing. A very long and incredibly quick back straight. I've seen some footage really of it in games and stuff on what this will look like. It's, definitely going to allow some overtaking opportunities. But it is, obviously it's kind of a street track anyway, right? It's crazy down this back straight, there's no doubt about it. But of course, look, with all the DRS zones, question has been there. Is it just going to favour Red Bull massively, given their seemingly much better straight line speed right now, and the way Ferrari seems to be somewhat better in the corners than on the straights? Of course, this should probably play into their hands, and a team it shouldn't play into the hands of is probably Mercedes, and generally just Mercedes-powered teams that seem to be struggling right now. Haas actually don't reckon this is maybe the way to go. Of course, look, in recent years, I'm pretty sure that last time it was raced in maybe 2019, there was only 10 overtakes all race, so clearly the older setup was not the best for racing and overtaking, and maybe the way they've done it now is going to be better on that front. Maybe it's going to be too easy to overtake, right, with all the DRS and the way the new cars work. But Magnussen actually reckoned maybe removing at least what was turn 9 or 10 before. Don't think they needed to do that. Reckons that actually the changes here have been somewhat over the top to the track, which I guess we'll see this weekend where that works out in reality. Another thing that has been going on, of course, with Haas is with Schumacher hitting it in the wall, or I guess having that atrocious crash that he was thankfully okay from in the whatever it was, the qualifying. The car was completely totaled, right, and they had to replace the entire thing. So there'll be no spare chassis for the Haas team in Melbourne this weekend. That's a pretty big deal. Of course, the cost cap has certainly been raised as a topic. There's actually talk that the teams actually wanted to go up by $7 million in the budget cap because of rising costs. I believe there's some sort of thing here where if the inflation rate is over 3% in the G7 countries, then the upper budget limit may be raised. It's not quite 3%, but due to increases in freight and electricity cost, it's actually affecting teams by as much as $6 million per team. So already the cost cap implications, not just there because of crashes and this type of stuff, but also there because of just worldwide increase in energy prices and these type of issues. So the F1, the FIA doesn't seem particularly keen to go down this route, but it's certainly a concern that teams are raising right now. And of course, we'll talk about Mercedes here in a second. What exactly happened with their rear wing they were meant to be bringing this weekend? Speaking a little bit more about the track though, turn 5, super sketchy, Josh reckons, because on this corner now, there's basically no runoff area at all. So if you're in the wall here, you're in the wall. And already this weekend, I believe there's been some supercars on the track. They've been kind of brushing this new wall. It's a foam wall. It's better than some of the walls, the basically steel walls that they were in Saudi Arabia at least. But definitely we may very well see some F1 cars in this wall this weekend. No runoff area at all on turn 5, which it's of course right here after 1, 2, 3, 4. This turn 5 on the outside of it, very likely someone might be in the wall there. I guess we'll see. This is the Mercedes they're bringing to this weekend. Of course, it's just the same car we've seen before with this still massive rear wing that we saw, of course. Yesterday we looked at the fact that maybe they were going to change this out for a lower downforce version. The idea being they're going to have to raise the ride height to deal with the porpoising. Therefore, that doesn't really help the drag. Maybe we kind of reduce the size of the rear wing to compensate for that to some degree. Because right now, probably going to be one of the fastest tracks on the calendar with all the straights and the DRS zones that we see down the back. And probably it's going to get a fair bit quicker this year. But apparently, they're not bringing this new lower downforce rear wing to Melbourne. Unclear exactly why. Seems like this was planned, or at least it was heavily rumoured that it was planned. They've decided not to do so. Whether they think that it's not worth it to try, because I guess that the point is really that they have to do this as a compensatory measure due to the fact that they have to raise the ride height of the car. Maybe they think it's not worth it to spend this money, or they think, either maybe it didn't work out in manufacturing right. Who knows whether the simulations have told them something different now, and they feel like if they do use this low downforce rear wing, it's going to significantly affect their handling in the corners. I'm not really sure, but that is a bit of a surprise because we talked about this for a little bit now, that a rear wing was coming for Melbourne, but now it's going to get delayed, seemingly to Imola or even after that to Miami. Seems like they still do plan to bring it in, but it's not here yet, which is a surprise. Maybe something went wrong in manufacturing, right? We may or may not find out as time progresses. Interestingly enough, though, actually, Red Bull are coming with a new rear wing, so they're certainly pushing the upgrades. They, of course, are Red Bull, Ferrari, the two teams ahead of the pack right now. They're not looking to slow down at all. Mattia Binotto on the Ferrari side has made it clear that they're prepared for the kind of development fight this year that maybe they haven't been in previous years, and that is my concern for a team like Haas, for example, that Alpine are bringing upgrades, other teams are going to bring upgrades. Haas might not have the capacity to do that, so probably going to be tough for them to maintain, like, almost fourth in the pecking order so far. Fourth's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Like, they were up there with Mercedes competing a little bit in Saudi Arabia. So, like, hopefully they can maintain the gap, but the other teams are certainly going to put the pedal to the metal on that one, and Mercedes obviously need to get on that sooner rather than later, right? Because there's not all that much time. If they were effectively just chalking up this weekend and saying, look, we're not going to bring this update in, we're just going to have the same car we've had for the last two races, suffering the fate of having, 5th, 6th at best, to be honest, which, of course, they would have achieved in Bahrain, if not for a bit of help from the Red Bull power units, and, also in Saudi Arabia, of course, if Hamilton wasn't 10th, it would have probably been another 5th, 6th, right, if he had a better qualifying. If they're settling for that again, it already is putting them in a massive disadvantage in the Constructors and, of course, the Drivers' Championships. On the Red Bull side, though, I'm sure they're feeling very optimistic coming into this weekend, with how powerful the Honda engine seems to be. Of course, the drivers have been arriving, doing the press conferences, this type of stuff, and some very interesting words from the drivers on this matter, right? So Leclerc goes on to say, the new Albert Park is a much, much faster track than the old one. Some changes with the additional size of the corners gives maybe some more chance to overtake, but also means there's more leeway in the corners that drivers can take wider lines, faster lines, and of course, with the chicane gone on the back straight, the track is no doubt going to be much quicker, and these cars are very quick in a straight line. So Leclerc reckons, yeah, much faster track. The previous layout was better for us. We need to optimize the package and do our best. We hope Imola can better adapt to our cars. So saying, yes, we're generally better in the slower, more tight, more technical corners. We know that the Ferrari seems to be very good in and out of corners, has great acceleration out of the corners. We certainly saw that in Bahrain, but on the straights it seems to struggle a fair bit. We saw the Red Bull putting a lot on the Ferrari towards the end of the Saudi Arabian race, of course. So this weekend might be a similar story. Seems like Leclerc and the Ferrari guys are somewhat concerned. This new track does not suit them maybe as well as it suits the Red Bull, but of course we have also heard there is the possibility of the Ferrari not being in the most optimal engine mode, let's just say. We'll see that in a second actually here. But Leclerc also goes on to say, we've seen these past two races, these strategies with DRS. I'm sure we'll see it even more here. Clever racing can make a big difference. We shall see whether there's possibilities to kind of do the cat and mouse stuff with the DRS this time, as there was the previous couple of races. Not so sure, just because there's only 2 DRS detection zones and 4 actual activation zones, which come into effect from a single DRS detection point. Of course, there is the idea, though, if you wanted to think about it incredibly deeply, that maybe it's better. Let's say you're going into the very final laps of the race, and it turns out to be incredibly easy to overtake with DRS in these particular zones. You might want to be ahead going into the final lap, just so that you get the guy behind you gets DRS into turn 13, gets DRS down the first and second straights, overtakes you, then you can get him back with the second DRS. So you probably want to be behind at detection zone 1 if you want to finish the lap ahead of the other guy. So there is potentially these games to be played. Relatively unlikely that it will come down to that point, but who knows honestly how easy it's going to be to overtake this weekend. Of course, the other part of it, right, as I just mentioned, is the Ferrari engine mode, because it seems like, we talked about this a little bit ago now, that especially in Bahrain and seemingly in Saudi Arabia as well, the Ferrari was running at a more conservative engine mode than they could. I believe the explanation was that if they turn the engine mode up a bit too much, they run the risk of the engine conking out quicker than it should do. They believe, I think they're going to bring in some reliability upgrades from maybe Imola and beyond, to the point where they can turn the engine up to effectively full power. But so far, they've been using it in a relatively conservative mode. Now, seemingly from Spain, we talked a little bit ago that Red Bull are going to start bringing in weight upgrades with more expensive materials, as Helmut Marko described. Therefore, to counteract that, Ferrari might actually up its power of the engine. But seemingly both teams right now want to kind of keep the pecking order as it is. But Red Bull in theory, at least according to Leclerc, probably should be favoured this weekend. But teams like to do that right now. Ferrari are kind of adopting the Mercedes mindset of playing down that kind of their performance potential this weekend. It's really tough to say which team is going to be on top, but more than likely it's going to be one of those two, especially with Mercedes seemingly not really bringing anything new. This also to mention because F1 race director Neil Wittich this weekend has made it very clear. I believe this has been in the sporting code for quite some time. There's no jewellery allowed in the form of body piercing, metal neck change, all this type of stuff during the competition. But seemingly some drivers kind of getting away with this the last few years without it really being enforced. So he's making it clear it's going to be enforced this weekend. So I guess that's kind of interesting. You really don't want to have a crash and have some piece of jewellery embedded in your neck. Probably not the best situation. So hopefully the drivers will pay attention to this and steer clear. This I just wanted to mention as well because it came up just right before I recorded, because the VW board seemingly supports an Audi and Porsche entry in 2026. Porsche set to work with Red Bull, which, I mean, that'd be a hell of a partnership, right? Red Bull and Porsche from 2026. One kind of, I guess, the new set of regulations or whatever they're going to do there. And Audi and McLaren, they were kind of, well, deemed to partner up. That now might not be the case. They maybe can't agree on a deal. Sauber might now be the favourite option. Here, Aston Martin also interested in a deal. So I guess we shall see. But that's a pretty big update to a story that we've seen for quite some time now, that Audi and Porsche want to get involved here in F1 in the future. And here we go then for this weekend. Just to mention real quick, because if you guys are in the UK or in Europe or in the US, it might not be so bad, because I guess it's going to be evening time, even though it's not great, to be honest. West Coast, it's probably okay. But yeah, these are the practice times this weekend. 4 a.m. tomorrow is practice 1. 7 a.m., 4 p.m. of course, or 4 a.m. on the 9th. On the Saturday is practice 3, and then the race itself is at 6 a.m. So not ideal, but it is what it is. We can handle it, I'm sure, for just this one time. And just to mention this actually before we finish things off, maybe this will change this weekend. Average overtakes across the previous 10 races, like for these particular tracks. Monaco has the lowest, of course, 10. No real surprise there. Then Budapest in Hungary, Melbourne at 28.1. But I believe in 2019 it was much lower than this, right? So we'll see this weekend. More than likely, it's going to be very effective. This whole the DRS zones or all the changes to the track, but only time will tell. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.